Welcome to the Social Chameleon Show, where it's our goal to help you learn, grow, and transform into the person you want to become. Today, I'm talking with Chris Cannon. Chris is a nationally recognized speaker and creator of the Confidence Academy with over 15 years of experience and hundreds of satisfied clients. His work has been featured internationally and frequently quoted by industry experts. Audiences often express their appreciation for the positive impact his award-winning, interactive, non-traditional presentations have on them. Chris provides practical, powerful strategies that provide real results and can be implemented immediately. He skillfully teaches you how to go from tragedy to triumph, from pitfall to powerful, and from regrets to rewards. As a committed father and husband with a strong belief in investing in people, he draws his strength from his family. Shortly after graduating from Eastern Michigan University, he began sharing his personal journey of becoming a victim of your own choices, which is transforming lives as far-reaching as the continent of Africa. He's very deep in his confidence space and what surrounds that, the self-image and all that. We talk a lot about that. Some good practical advice in there, some good, really good tips on self-talk and being aware of that and these words we choose. Very, very critical. A lot of times we neglect to see what we're telling ourselves. The things that we tell ourselves in our head, a lot of times you would never tell your worst enemy. The things you're telling yourself, the way you're acting, the way you're conducting, just to yourself. And how we degrade ourselves. It's very powerful. And he has got some good techniques and some good lessons and different things in there. This mainly what we talk about. So without further ado, I hope you enjoy our conversation with Chris. Chris, welcome to the show. I appreciate you getting on here. I look forward to having a quick chat here.
Thanks for having me, man. I really appreciate it. And
No
also,
problem.
I like the work that you're doing. So keep up the great work. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Likewise. I'm glad we got to connect here. I'd like to, I guess, start off with why did you come up with the Confidence Academy? I think that's one of the things you really are into, and I kind of wanted to talk more about that.
Yeah, the reason being is because I've been doing motivational speaking for about 15 plus years now. And it never fails, when I go to different places and I speak, people want to talk to me afterwards. Mm-hmm. And one of the common themes that come up is in their own mind, their inability to do certain things. So some people want to write a book. They know I've written a book. And so they ask me different questions. And over time, I would take hours and hours talking to people one-on-one. And it hit me, why not create something that's leverageable and you can allow them to access it whenever they want to and get the results that they want, because everybody's situation is not the same. Right. And so I began to get on this quest of really studying what holds people back. Fear is one thing, but there's so many people that even succeed in the face of fear. So It's like, okay, what do those people have that these other people don't? And so with that, the Confidence Academy was kind of birthed out of that desire to help people who really had value to offer to the world, but for whatever reason was being held back from doing so.
What were the most common things you were seeing?
The most common things is I'm not enough. What do I have to offer the world that they would want to listen to me? And I think a lot of people feel like because what they know and what they have is theirs, they're like, why would people value this? I mean, you look at a Tony Robbins or Gary Vaynerchuk, whoever the case may be, it's like what makes their story or their platform any more or less powerful than anybody else's? It's like we all have our tribe of people who can really learn from us. And sometimes people don't want to learn from those that have millions and millions of followers. They want to learn from that one person that doesn't have any followers, but they have a phenomenal story that person can connect to. And so the common thing is that people feel like, they're not enough. What do I have that's really of value? And the fact is everything, no matter who you are, two things that we've all experienced in our life. We've all experienced hopelessness. Yeah. We've all experienced some kind of pain. And so it's like when you think about hopelessness, that's the thing that bonds us together. Whenever we see a phenomenal movie, we don't want to see the boring movie where somebody was born a billionaire and their life was a goat. No, we want to see the person who was given up for adoption, almost died, and somehow he came back and became a millionaire and saved 20 million people in the process. We want to see that story. So that's the hopelessness. But, a lot of us feel like, we're not enough And we don't realize that the pain that we have is the very pain that somebody else is trying to look for a solution for. So it's like when we can share our pain, and how we got through it or our journey, that gives them permission to, number one, know that it's possible, but also it's possible for me. Because a lot of times people think that something is possible, but it's possible for everybody except me. Right. So when they see people that are like them, that overcame their, story or painful experience, it lets them know that it is possible for them as well.
Yeah, you see that even I guess for lack of a better term, the racial thing or whatever, like, oh, you're this, this type of person from this area or this color skin, if they can do it, I can do it too, because I look like that and I'm that type of person. That's very interesting. What is one of the, I guess, the one or two things that help people kind of know they are enough or break through that roadblock of not feeling like they're enough?
I think one of the biggest things is very, very simple. Just looking back at a past reference.
Okay.
So for me, I'm a father, I'm a husband, I'm an entrepreneur. And so with those three things, every single day, I'm facing some kind of uncertainty, something that I don't know, I haven't been faced with. I might have failed at before. But for me, my point of reference is my high school basketball coach.
Okay.
When I think about all of the times that I've run, I've thrown up, I've, push-ups and 5 o'clock in the morning practice. And it's like, okay, if I got through those things, what I'm facing here, I can definitely get through those things. I don't have to run. I don't have to get up 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm not going to vomit or anything like that. My life is not in jeopardy. So everything else I can pretty much figure out, but I have that point of reference as my basis. And all of us, we have some kind of point of reference that we can refer back to say, you know what, that point in time, I didn't know how I was going to get over it. I don't know, how I was going to get the money, or I didn't know how this was going to work out. But you know what? It did. And if I can get through that, then I can get through this. Because so often we're married to our current story, or we're married to our past story that keeps us stuck. But rarely do we find the other story that had us stuck, but we persevered and we didn't even know how we was going to get over it. And so I think the biggest thing is referencing to areas where we've already succeeded in to give us proof and evidence that we can continue to go forward. Because the only thing it is just proof. So often we look for proof as to why we're not enough, why we're ugly, why we're broke, but we just don't look for the right reference points. And I think that's one of the biggest things.
So I guess the thing that comes to my mind is reframing your situation in a way. Is that correct?
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. So saying, okay, this is how it is now or today or whatever it is. I'm facing this now, but if I reframe this, I had something similar before and I know I got through that and I'm here today. That's kind of accurate what you're saying?
Exactly. And I don't care who you are. All of us, we've helped at least one person.
Sure.
And I think the biggest thing in life is that we will let ourselves down way quicker than we'll let anybody else down.
That's true.
And so it's like when you think about that one person that you've helped, or that one person that look up to you, that one person that depend on you, think about them for all of your choices. If they're going to drive you forward, don't think about yourself. Think about doing it for that person. And that within itself will pull you and even push you to wherever you're trying to get to a lot quicker than if you just stay stuck and depend on yourself and stay stuck to your own story.
Definitely. So one other thing I want to touch on I guess, I kind of want to, I guess, stay on the theme of confidence in a way. I like kind of where this is going. I think one of the big things I see, and then we talked about before, was self-esteem. Can we kind of talk through that a little bit?
Yeah. So a big thing is, we use confidence a lot, and confidence is just your ability to do something. I have a lot of confidence in tying my shoe because I've done it over and over again. But when it comes to self-esteem, that's really the issue that people have. And self-esteem is just the image that you have of yourself, the internal image that you have of yourself. And that's the very thing that keeps people stuck. So a lot of times we use confidence and self-esteem interchangeably because people are more familiar with the term confidence and they want to be more associated with having confidence. But whenever somebody uses the word self-esteem, a lot of people, they immediately want to disassociate with it because they immediately think of somebody who's depressed, they're medicated, all of the negatives, but it's really just the internal image that you have of yourself. And even when you hear the term self-esteem, and I'll talk about this in a minute, but our language is even so critical because we've associated negativity with self-esteem. Mm-hmm. And whenever self-esteem is really talked about, it's always somebody that has low self-esteem.
Right.
But when somebody has high self-esteem, we look at them as arrogant,
or highly confident.
Exactly. Right. But it's like, I think we should introduce the term high self-esteem back into the language because that's what it is, and I think somebody should not be demonized for having a positive self-image of themselves. Right. It's like we live in this culture where negativity is so profound that we want to demonize people for thinking highly of themselves. Now don't get me wrong. I think there's a difference between somebody that's having, high self-esteem and somebody who's just arrogant and a jerk and they think that they walk on, that's totally different. Mm-hmm. But in terms of self-esteem, it's really just the internal image that somebody have of themselves. And unfortunately, most of our self-esteem was developed and created and shaped and molded in the imprint period between the ages of 0 and 6.
Right.
And so a lot of us, we have self-sabotaging behavior, which was resulted in what somebody said or didn't say or did not do. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times it does come from language because so much of our lives is reinforced from things that we were taught at an early age. We don't really understand how powerful our language are. Mm-hmm. And so a prime example real here. So when you talk about things that lower your self-esteem, it's us in the things that we've been communicated. So for instance, we've been taught as a kid to, when you do something wrong, you say you're sorry. Mm-hmm. So you think about this for a minute. You did something wrong. You already feel bad about yourself.
Right.
And then somebody's telling you to say something negative to yourself. Because you think about it. If somebody's across the street and you say that person is sorry, is that a negative or positive perception? It's negative.
Right. Yeah.
So why is it that we're taught to say it to ourselves? That's just reinforcing negativity.
Yeah.
And so that kind of helps to diminish our self-esteem even further. Mm-hmm. And I know we don't have a lot of time, but all of us have 4 fears.
Yeah.
And one of the 4th fear is the fear of being wrong. Mm. And we've heard the term self-fulfilling prophecy before. Mm-hmm. So if I have this negative image about myself, I have negative self-esteem, I have this negative language that I've been programmed to tell myself, then I have this fear of being wrong. It's like if I already have all of these other negative references about who I am as an individual, the biggest fear that I have is being wrong. Mm-hmm. So I want to be right because all of those things already point me in the right direction, that I'm somebody who's low value, low self-esteem, low self-worth. I can't do it. Who am I? And so many things around us just, reinforces those things.
Right. Yeah. And that's the thing, that self-talk, right? That story in your head, that dialogue that you keep telling yourself. I never thought of using the word "I'm sorry" as, kind of demeaning yourself a bit. I do feel like sometimes people use it as a crutch, or if I say I'm sorry, everything kind of will smooth over, and I don't really have to be sorry. I don't really have to learn any lessons or whatever here, but I like that. I'm going to stop using that term. I like the way you frame that. With the self-esteem and self-image and the self-talk and stuff that we're kind of talking about right now, what kind of can somebody start doing that's really going to help accelerate this into a positive direction?
I think one of the biggest things is really becoming a police of your own language. So instead of saying like, I'm sorry, say I apologize.
Okay.
Because that's really what it is. It's like when you apologize for something, there's redemption there, because, you apologize can lead to guilt, but sorry, saying I'm sorry, it leads to shame. And it's like shame is a attack on who you are. Mm-hmm. But, guilty and saying you apologize, that's an attack on something that you've done. You can separate from that, so I think really becoming a police of your own language, even, saying things like, I can't, because a lot of times we don't even realize it, but we lie to make ourselves feel comfortable.
Right.
Hey, will you go here with me? Or are you available on Friday? No, I can't do it. No, that's really not honesty, and a lot of times when we're not honest, we have internal conflict with ourselves that reinforces the negative head talk. So instead of saying, I can't, say, I choose not to.
Right.
That's more powerful and it's more accurate and it's more congruent with who you are as an individual, because it also displays the power of choice. Because when you say I can't, there's no choice in that. Now it just reinforces the victim mindset that a lot of people live with. But when you say, I choose not to, it's like, wow, people hear it. They might feel uncomfortable. They might even get pissed off, but they respect it because they're like, wow, I never had anybody tell me I choose not to.
Yeah.
And that person is honest, because I probably wouldn't have said that. You know, so a lot of like language patterns, you know, that are disempowering, you know, and there's so many different things that people say that's disempowering to them. So for instance, even when somebody, they mess up on something, man, I'm dumb, I'm stupid, or they identify themselves as something negative. I'm always late, you know, I'm an early bird, or I'm a night owl, or I'm a whatever. And so often we identify with these things that we've been programmed to condition to be identified with, because it's like, okay, if somebody says they're a night owl, but somebody said, listen, starting next week, if you go to bed at 10 o'clock, I'm going to give you $1 million in a month. Now you've just immediately changed, you know, so it's all about a choice. But I think the more that we pay attention to the things that we say, we don't realize how powerful our words are in reinforcing our behavior. You know, so what happens is it's like our language reinforces our behavior reinforces our language, and it just becomes a cycle. So it's like, at what point do you just stop? And the easiest thing to stop is our language, because it's like the things that we do are habitual. But a lot of times we can break those habits just by reframing the things that we say.
Yeah, and I use that technique a lot. I like that. What are other, we did Cat and a couple of things. Is there any other trigger words or popular words that bring you into that mindset that we don't even consciously think about?
One of the biggest things, and also too, and I typically do this in my workshops. Now I remember UCLA did a study years and years ago, and it's interesting because our language, like communication, all communication, you know, words only make up 7% of our language.
Sure.
You know, so you have 38%, which is tone, but 55% is body language. So the majority of our communication is our body language. And so there's ways that we can even speak to ourselves through our body, regardless of the things that we say, because a lot of times the things that we say reinforce how we feel, and it reinforces how we look and feel even in our body. And I remember there was a study done by a lady named Amy Cuddy, probably about 8 or 10 years ago, called the power pose. You know, it's really popularized now.
I think she did a TED Talk as well too.
Phenomenal TED Talk. Yeah, exactly.
It was really good. Yeah.
And so that's one thing that I encourage people to do as well is practice doing a power pose, you know, whether it's the Superman or Superwoman, whichever one, you know, you want to do, but do that. Because I'm going to say, like, do it in the mirror, but there's some people that have so much shame that they can't start there. You know, sometimes you do it in the mirror, but turn your back to the mirror. And maybe over time, you can face the mirror to actually see yourself as that. But what I tell people to do is do a power pose and smile the whole time you're doing it. Because number one, it reinforces things, you know, within your body, but it also reinforces things in your mind. Because you think about it, when we smile and when we frown, we activate and stimulate the left and right brain. So there's certain things like we don't even think about it, but our muscle fascia in our faces stimulate and activate the left and right brain. So when you do a power pose and you smile, it stimulates and reinforces things that are like, you know, related to your confidence and self-esteem, but more so just your internal self-image, but also your head talk.
You know, another good technique I tell people is every time you walk through a doorway, when you walk through that doorway, smile, chest up, and you kind of, it's a simple thing, and you're not looking in a mirror. I never thought about that. But every time you walk through a doorway, if you stand up, you smile, and then you also, if you walk to a conference room or a meeting or something like that, you're instantly going to start to just kind of come in there and that with that big smile and that big confidence and stuff like that. And that's a nice way to not have to look in the mirror, which is nice. And every time you just do it around your house, if you put a little post-it on top of your doorway or something like that, just to kind of remind yourself or something like that, you can help that. I think that helps a lot too. I've helped people with that as well.
Man, I wish I could give you a virtual high five. That's a good,
we can do
I
that.
like that.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I got it from, I think Jordan Harbinger or something. I heard it and I was like, well, that's another good way to do it. And I never, when you said that about the mirror, I never thought about people not being able to look themselves in the mirror.
Yeah.
Like, that's something that just never occurred to me. And if you can't, I think this doorway drill will help you be able to start to build that confidence and look yourself in the mirror. That's awesome.
Yeah.
What about these different things in the realm of social media, where they're helping or hindering or whatever's happening with that? What are you seeing with that?
Man, I think I'm about to become very unpopular.
That's okay. Let's talk about it.
The thing is this, and people would disagree with me, sure. But I think social media is, I won't say the biggest thing, but one of the biggest things that kills self-esteem, confidence, but it reinforces negative self-head talk, because we don't realize as humans, we naturally compare ourselves to people, and a large part of that is just for our very survival. I mean, we compare ourselves to different things. It's like, okay, I'm out in the woods and I see this figure that looked like it's 9 feet tall and I'm only 6 foot. I need to compare myself, okay, because they have a better chance of killing me than me surviving. Mm-hmm. So we have a natural tendency to compare ourselves. And when you're on social media, you see at least 1,000 things. If you look for just 1 hour, you can see 1,000 things that will prove how horrible you are, how broke you are, no matter how much money you got, how horrible your relationship is, how horrible you are with your children, why you don't. So you can find so many different horrible things on social media. But what people fail to realize is that most of what you see online is not real.
Yeah.
Those people, that one picture that they put up, man, that probably took hours and hours of getting the right setting and the right mood and the lighting. Like they spent a lot of time photoshopping, if you will, without Photoshop, that specific image, and the thing is this, people, they're not honest about their full life, because I'm like, listen, if you're going to post something, post everything.
Yeah.
Let's post, when you were late on that bill, how you felt, and when you were crying because your kid did this, or when you woke up in the morning, you smelled your own breath and you almost fell out. Let's post like everything, and so when it comes to social media, it really damages people's self-esteem, because they're comparing their reality to somebody's fictitious story that they really made up, that they themselves know is not real.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I it's funny. I think back to this. I have a friend. He's got a pretty large Instagram account, and we do this acrobatic yoga class and stuff together. And there's this one thing he did. He tried to do some kind of flip or something like that, and it's just it went horribly wrong. He's like, I want to post this, but I haven't got it yet, so I can't. And I was like, well, why don't you post it and let people know, hey, look, this is the first time I've ever tried this. Look where I'm at. Check back in a year and see my progress. And he's like, I can't do that. People are going to think I'm shitty and I can't do this. And it's like, wow, like I like posting those failures. I think it's fun. I love it. I like posting the weird crap that happens and
because people relate to that. They can identify with it. They're like, okay, you're normal just like me.
Right.
And I think people want to be human. It's like I think social media is a double-edged sword. Like it could be a great thing, but I think so often people are just scared to truly be themselves, and they think they have to be whatever will get them likes and shares or whatever, and not realizing that, look, the real you will probably get you more likes and shares than the fake you. And you probably got some enemies that don't like you because of the fake, falsification that you posted. But I do think that people are scared to be themselves. And it's one of those things that, it's an addiction that once you start, you can't stop to a certain extent.
Yeah.
Because it's like when you post something, you get a lot of likes, and you got to worry about, did somebody comment on it? And if they comment on it and I didn't like their comment or say something back about their comment, are they going to be mad at me? So it causes so much anxiety within humans, period. And I think it's one of those things that we all don't realize, and I'm saying me putting myself in it.
Yeah, me too.
We don't realize how much of an addiction that it is because it's so common. Yeah. It's like, we know heroin, crack, all of those things, alcohol, those things are very addictive, but it's like social media is the one thing that universally all 7 billion people eventually will have this same thing in common. And so because it's so common, we don't really look at it as an issue. But when you really look at the depth of relationships, that whether it's people in your home or your kids or whatever, or you go out to restaurants and you see people looking at their phones, it's like that's kind of telling you where we are as a society, and it's fracturing our relationships, because a lot of us know that we should be doing something different, but we're so drawn to, man, I got to get back to a status update, or I got to find this other thing to post, or it's been a week and I haven't posted anything, man, people are going to think like, whatever, you know? So I think it caused a lot of anxiety, and it reinforces negative head talk, for a lot of us.
Yeah, I see that too. I was noticing this morning, stopped at a stoplight and I just looking around and it's every single person I looked at was on their phone.
Yeah.
You can't even stop at a stoplight for 14 seconds and not pull out your phone.
Yeah.
And I was just like, dang, it blows my mind. And that's the thing too. I talk to people all the time. I was like, if I was addicted to cocaine, we would have a problem. But this is the same mechanism. This is the same problem, and everything's okay. Like, why is that? It blows my mind, and people just don't associate the difference. And it's modeled on that addictive behavior, that variable reward system. It's just like gambling, just like all these other things. Yeah. It tricks your brain, and it's hard. It's taken me a long time to really just break that habit. And my newest addiction now is how little screen time can I have on my phone. I have a app on my Android phone by Google. It's like Action Dash or something like that or whatever. And my latest goal is to be under 2 hours of screen time for the day.
That's awesome.
Some days I get it. Some days I'm like 3 hours. I'm like, dang, I was on my phone too much today.
Yeah.
But what I was noticing is my phone will just be on. And I'm not doing anything on it, but the screen is on. A book is playing or a podcast or something is playing, and it's kind of messing with my time. And then I notice, I look at it and what? There's a message. Okay, what is this? And then 3 or 4 minutes later, I'm like, oh man, I'm scrolling through this thing. And what am I even doing? I don't even know.
Yeah.
But it's like it's like you're saying, looking for that reward, looking for that validation or whatever it is. Right. How cool I am. Look how everybody loved that. I'm funny or whatever. So much we can unpack with that. I know you're short on time.
Yeah. And I will say, like, the other thing too is, and I'm sure you might have experienced this as well, is like sometimes you go on social media for something very specific. Yeah. And by the time you get there 2 minutes later, you forgot what you even went there for. I'm guilty, and
every morning I go to, I have a thought, that's a good quote or whatever I was reading, and I post something, and then the next thing I'm like, who's the 49ers did what? Oh, what's going on with that? I'm like, what am I doing on here? I don't even remember. Definitely. Couple quick questions real quick. Is there any habits recently you've added or removed from your life?
Yes. So there's habits that I've added. One of them is getting up every morning by 6 and drinking 32 ounces of water.
Okay.
The other thing is meditation. Because I've learned that even with, my exposure to like social media and just the internet and computer, like my mind is continuously racing on the next thing, the next idea, so many things. And it's just like I'm always on. Yeah. And I noticed that since I've been meditating, it's like my mind kind of calms itself. I sleep better. I feel more rested. I'm more alert, aware. My senses are a lot more, in tune. So those are two things. One thing that I've also instituted is when I have negative health, self-talk, I do something called I scramble.
Okay.
And what I scramble is just you looking from your left into your right, just back and forth, and you're saying your ABCs.
Oh, okay.
And what it does is like whatever your mind is on, it just scrambles the mind, and it's like a pattern interrupt. Kind of like if you and your son or somebody is walking down the street and you just see like an orange monkey that starts chasing you. It's like whatever you was talking about
is gone.
Totally, exactly. Yeah. And so it's like mind scramble is a way for me to trick my mind into focusing on something else just long enough for me to insert it there. Whether I'm thinking about something negative or what somebody said or what I should have done better, it's like I'll just do I scramble, eyes back and forth and just saying my ABCs out loud, because that's the key too, because you want to, use your language to impact your ear. So I say it out loud, and then I'll just interrupt that pattern and introduce something else in my mind, like, okay, what am I grateful for today? Who can I empower today? That gratitude letter, who's next on my list to write a gratitude letter for?
I like that.
Yeah.
That's a good way to that pattern interrupt. I like that. That's nice. Well, we'll all be sitting around and standing in line in the grocery store, but like, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. We all know where we got it from.
Right.
I love it. Chris, you got so much great stuff. I love what you got going on. I think, where can people get a hold of you, learn more about what you're doing and everything you have?
Obviously on social media, if you look up Chris Cannon, YouTube, my latest project, GuyologySecrets.com, people can go there. And that's kind of like where a lot of the confidence information is funneling. Also, those that work with youth, fightingforyouth.com, the number 4. That's another one of the, companies that I run. But pretty much those 2 places is where people can find me. So guyology.secrets.com and fightingforyouth.com is probably the best way.
Perfect. I'll link everything in the show notes for everybody. So don't worry, guys. It's easy to get to. And then the last thing here on the Social Chameleon Show, we like to do a weekly challenge. I'd like to issue you the challenge to either something we talked about, maybe, or an idea, a concept, whatever it is, doesn't necessarily matter. But I want to give you the opportunity to issue this week's challenge.
What I would challenge, if you don't mind, it's like 2 in the same. Sure. I would challenge somebody to do exactly what you said, to challenge themselves to less than 2 hours of social media per day. But I would also challenge people to do a power pose. And if you're at a point where you have so much guilt and shame that you can't look in the mirror, I would challenge you to still get in front of the mirror, but turn your back to it. And I would do that at least every day for 14 days or more, just to kind of get into that mindset of empowering yourself, mentally through the communication with your body.
I love that. So limit our screen time to less than 2 hours, and power posing, whether facing the mirror or looking away, whatever you got to do to start.
Definitely.
Perfect. Definitely. I love it. Thank you so much, Chris.
Definitely.
I appreciate everything you have going on. Everybody check it out. Check what he's got going on. He's got a lot of great stuff, a lot more information, a lot more stuff, especially on that confidence and stuff I really, really love. Thank you for your time.
All right. Take care, Tyson. Appreciate it, man. Thank you.
You too. Wow. That was fun. I know it was a short one. Chris was on a time schedule, but what great info in there. A lot of great things. I love the different things about being enough and can't, and I'm sorry. Those are good trigger words I never really thought too much about, especially I'm sorry. So something we just kind of rolls off the tongue all the time. And I'm going to be conscious about saying that. I'm going to try and take that out of my vocabulary, trying to start to catch myself on that. If this is something you have a friend or family, or whatever it is, colleague that you think this could help, please share it with them. This is the best way to support the show. If you like what we got going on, you guys can connect with us all week long on the Social Chameleon Show on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app if you're new to the show, or if you like the video version, head over to YouTube and subscribe there. For everything we talked about here today and past episodes, you can visit socialchameleon.show. And until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep transforming to the person you want to become.